Hey, Startup Grind community. Today, we're going to have a fireside chat with Melissa Mueller-Douglas, the founder of MYRetreat. Hope you enjoy.
All right, folks, as we're getting started here, we want to make sure everyone's familiar with Zoom. So hopefully everyone sees chat option at the bottom. And we also see Q&A option that we want to reserve that to asking questions like directly towards Fernanda, who will be asking the questions, and Melissa, who will be our guest today. Want to test out the chat section right now. I'm going to ask folks, I'm sitting here at Laurentide, and I'm wearing a shirt. They're hosting me today, but I want to ask if everyone knows the term Laurentide means. Hints that this is a craft brewery that I'm at that doesn't have anything to do with the word. So just make sure you know how to use the chat function. So feel free, if you've heard that term, share with the team or the folks that are on the call. And I think we're going to get kicked off. So just real quick, this is Michael Thaney for running local Startup Grind chapter in Rochester. Again, today I'm actually in the Finger Lakes, but we have two great hosts here with us. Fernanda has joined our team as the community manager. And today she'll be kicking off a fireside chat with Melissa Mueller-Douglas, who is the founder of MYRetreat, and she'll be talking about, if I get this right, chocolate mindfulness. But I'm going to hand it over to Fernanda and Melissa to do intros and kind of take us from there.
Thank you, Michael, for that introduction. Hi, everyone. I hope you're doing fine today. Today we'll be talking about mindfulness, chocolate mindfulness, and technology, and how to focus on developers' wellness and engineering team wellness. So we have the wonderful speaker today, Melissa. Thank you very much, Melissa, for joining us. Melissa is a licensed master social worker. She strives for a lifestyle balance in good nutrition, meaningful connections, and creativity. MYRetreat is on a mission to reach 1 million women to help them cope with the stressors of motherhood and life. So with that being said, welcome, Melissa. Why don't you start telling us about yourself, your background, and what motivated you to found MYRetreat?
As you said, I'm Melissa, founder of MYRetreat, the women's retreat where mindfulness and gratitude meet. And I am on this mission to reach 1 million women with self-care practices, because self-care is a necessity. And with chocolate mindfulness, it is luxurious. This story began in 2010. My husband proposed. In 2011, I traveled to Rwanda. I graduated with my master's in social work and got married. And then in 2012, I got married. I was already married, but in 2012, I had our first child. And things changed, right? Not only did I have all of these new responsibilities, but I was no longer able to focus only on myself. And so for the next few years, I was putting self-care on the back burner. And I'm a volleyball player. I am a world traveler, and I was not stepping foot on a volleyball court, and I was not getting any stamps in my passport. So eventually I reached out to my closest friends and colleagues and asked them, what are you doing for self-care? How are you reducing stress and taking care of you? And ladies were responding that they either weren't doing it at all, or that they wanted to do it when their kids went off to college. And I was not comfortable with that. So I pulled together all of my experience as a therapist over those few years. And in 2017, I started the first MYRetreat, gathering with 10 of my closest friends. And it was my birthday. So they brought a gift. I asked it to be a wellness gift. But what they didn't know is that it was meant to be shared with everyone else. We all traded gifts because the true gift that I wanted was to be in the present moment. And that's when MYRetreat was born. So I knew that there was this need for ladies to focus on themselves, their care, because all of us were professionals. Some of us own businesses, some of us, were full-time parents. But at the end of the day, we needed to figure out a way to de-stress, and that's the story of how MYRetreat began.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. So can you tell us about what mindfulness is, and how can we use mindfulness during the stressful times right now, during COVID and quarantine?
Absolutely. So mindfulness is about being in the present moment, because the majority of us are spending our thoughts and our energy focused on the past, what we wish could have gone differently, or the future, right? And this concern about what's going to happen next. And we're all in this grind of how to get where we want to go. And we're potentially missing beautiful moments or opportunities for excellent laser focus, right, in the moment. And that's why mindfulness is so important and beneficial for all of us to practice and be able to utilize when necessary. So what I've found with my personal practice, whether it be when I am now playing, again, volleyball, right, on the court, and able to focus on the sound of the ball, the scent of the gym, the feel of when I block all of the middle hits, right? That is where it's really important, whether it be in sports, or if it's with chocolate mindfulness, or any type of practice that brings you to the present moment based on your senses. That is what's going to help me, what is helping me right now during COVID. So I also am a full-time therapist. I work for the University of Rochester, and when COVID hit, I had to continue to meet with people face to face. I had to, of course, I was wearing a mask and a face shield, and at the same time, I didn't have the luxury of staying at home, and truly isolating. So with the practices that I use for myself personally, it has helped me to reduce stress. It has helped me to continue to be present with my clients when I'm meeting with them for those sessions. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because it was, again, another level of validation that the MYRetreat model works, and that it's helping me as the founder to get through this stressful time.
That is great, especially with so much uncertainty right now. Focusing on present moment, I think that's very important and really helps with stress. So talking about technology, how can we combine mindfulness and technological development, and how can engineering teams and developers practice mindfulness?
So I'll give another story. Today is, for Muslims, is Eid, right? It's our holiday. There are two each year. And when I went to schedule this chat with you, I looked at my calendar, but I didn't look to notice that it was a holiday, right? I chose to keep it because MYRetreat and mindfulness and the startup community as a whole are very important to me as well. So it can be both and yet it's a prime example of when you're, going and focusing on the future and something that you want to be a part of, that you might not consider, other things that are also important to you. So fortunately, as I said, today completely worked out. I did my celebration and, everything around the holiday up until this point. And it's important for us as creators, innovators, developers to keep a balance, whatever that might look like. And there are a few examples that I wanted to share today of what I do and what I've seen other startup founders doing. The first is called the Pomodoro technique, and I personally find it very, very helpful. So for 25 minutes, I'm focusing on a task. And then after those 25 minutes of working on the upcoming app that we have, I then take 5 minutes for a break. And when I say a break, I don't mean now I'm checking my emails instead of working on the graphic design, but what I truly mean is I'm separating myself from the business, right, for 5 minutes. And for some, that's really easy to do. For others, it takes some practice. But what I find is that when I come back to do that next 25-minute sprint, that I'm refreshed, and I know that I'm training myself to be able to let go and set it aside, know that that responsibility, those tasks are going to be there for me, right? But I've also given myself this gift of 5 minutes of just me time. And so with the Pomodoro technique, you do that for four more times. So 4 more 25-minute sprints with a 5-minute break. And at the end of that process, you get to have a longer break. So instead of, me going outside and I will jump rope, right? I want to get my blood flowing again from sitting down at a desk. Or just open a book that I love and read a few pages, whatever it is for you. Then doing that longer break at the end is a way to continue that rejuvenating process, right? So that you can reduce burnout and be able to focus on what your passion ideally is, right? Your startup or whatever it is that you're developing. Side note, it also works for kids. So recently I discovered this. So as I'm doing my 25 minutes focusing on my business, instead of telling my kid all day, clean your room, I said, this is what mommy does. It really works. Try it out. And she went to her room, 25 minutes, cleaned it. 5 minutes, we blew bubbles, go back, do it again. So for those of you who work remotely or are working from home, it's something to try out with your kids as well. Then I would add the sanctuary model. So as a social worker, I was introduced to the sanctuary model, and there are a lot of components to it. But one that has really stuck with me is called the safety plan. You can call it the wellness plan. You can call it whatever you like. But there are 5 things that you do for yourself when you need a break, when you need to relax, when you need to, when you're finding yourself not being as productive as you want to be, taking time away for a moment to be able to bounce back and work as your best self, right? So some examples on my safety plan or self-care plan, right, are chai tea. I can do it in 5 minutes. Another one is reaching out to a friend, again, 5 minutes. My friends know if I say it's my Pomodoro break, I have 5 minutes, let's just chat and just chat about us and how we're doing. And then they respect that boundary too. At 5 minutes, I actually mean it, right? We have to get back to work afterwards. And then one of the longer ones on my self-care plan is a 40-minute nap. This is something that I discovered back when I was playing sports in high school and college, that when we were driving in a bus to whoever we were competing against, if I slept like 30 minutes, it was not enough. If I slept 50 minutes, it was way too much. But I found my sweet spot of that 40-minute nap and feeling like I could just conquer the world again after that. So I'm one who tends to fall asleep quickly. So I can just lay down, be out, and rest for 40 minutes and come back able to focus. So what I would offer for those on the call that have a team is to get to know those things first, of course, about yourself, and then about your co-developers or your co-founders, because sometimes in the moment when somebody's feeling really stressed or overwhelmed with whatever the project is that you're working on, it's not necessarily the time to ask, what is it that you want? What is it that you need? But if you know ahead of time what it is that's going to help reduce that stress, it can be a really, really nice and welcomed reminder to say, hey, I know that you like chai. I saw, in your emails that you're struggling with this part of your day, and I wanted to get this for you. Of course, that's when we're in person, right? But for the phenomenal woman who is developing our MYRetreat app, some of the things on her self-care plan are taking time to unwind with her kids, having some sleep at night, right? So that's more prevention. But then reading something not related to tech. And I really like that piece as well, because sometimes we'll sneak in work and pretend like it's not work, but it really is, right? So making sure that those breaks, those times for self-care are truly about you and your interests that are separate from your job, right? Whatever it is that you're starting and innovating, which is all exciting and can become all encompassing. And then there's that possibility that you can lose your true self and not be your best self around others.
That's awesome. So I'm wondering right now, since you mentioned the MyRetreat app, do you want to talk about that? If like, I know that you're on a mission to reach 1 million women. So with this app, is that how you're planning on doing it?
That is absolutely one piece. What I love about it is that it will be accessible to anyone, anywhere. So on Instagram, which is Rock My Retreat, by the way, right? I'll put it in the chat later for those that want to follow up there with me. On Instagram, there was this woman who'd been following my business journey, right? And just the other day, I asked her, hey, what you post resonates with me, what I'm posting resonates with you. What would it take to have you participate in the retreat experience in chocolate mindfulness? And her response was that she lives in Jakarta, and when the in-person retreats, or now our virtual retreats, are happening, it is 2:30 in the morning where she lives, and she really wants to set that boundary of sleeping when the sun is down and whatnot. So it was a awesome reminder, and one of many, to hear that if time weren't a barrier, that she would absolutely jump in and be a part of the MyRetreat experience. So the app, if you haven't heard of it, you'll be getting reminders to practice mindfulness by eating chocolate daily. It's a pretty easy way to jump into learning about mindfulness. And then from there, of course, there are additional elements that get you engaged either daily or weekly or once a month, whatever it is that you're able and willing to invest in yourself, focusing on gratitude, focusing on mindfulness, so that you can be that authentic you.
Great, awesome. So, well, you mentioned already, and I think it is clear why it's important to practice mindfulness while working. But I don't know if you want to add anything else on the importance of practicing mindfulness and mental health care practices during when we are working.
Sure. So today I was doing a few customer discovery calls, and one of the women that I interviewed said she didn't know that my business was on mindfulness. She didn't know that I had a business, but she said, in response to what do I do to reduce stress? She's a director of a large business. She said what she does. And then she mentioned in there, mindfulness is stupid, which I loved. I love that dialogue, right? To hear what do people actually think about mindfulness, and what connotations does it have for you. So I asked her about that. Tell me more. Why is mindfulness stupid? And there were a few things that she said. The first was that if you're doing it in community, like with other people around, like you might be doing in a business setting, she said she really didn't understand how people could actually go to that place, like a grounded place where you're just focusing on yourself if you're around other people. So that's one thing that the MYRetreat app will address, right? You're able to do it on your own. So to answer your question, I really think that it's important for people to recognize when they want to be in the present moment, whether it's best for them to do it in community, like with other people. If they're outgoing, like to socialize and just want to try out a new experience, or if it's truly going to be most beneficial to do it solo and as your personal, more private journey. And so that was just awesome feedback to hear and to share with the people on this call, that really we need to be asking ourselves those questions when you're going to find a way to recharge, whether it be with mindfulness or meditation or whatever it is that you do to recharge. Figuring out if you do it better in groups or if you do it better solo, so that you can find the product, the service that's going to best work for you. Yeah, so mindfulness being stupid, I just love that, because her follow-up to that was, because I didn't really understand what it was. So again, I would just offer the gift that she gave to me, and the gift that I'll pass along is that idea of looking into what things actually are, like not just the how, but the why. And even if it's something that works for somebody else and you don't think it's going to work for you, it's not going to be any harm in trying it out, whatever type of self-care it is. Because a lot of times when you find what doesn't work for you, you're going to be closer to knowing what does.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for sharing that. So what challenges have you experienced with MYRetreat in starting this business around mindfulness, which is, as you're saying, something that people might not know about, and that is, well, I think it's becoming really popular nowadays, especially now during COVID-19. So I don't know, what challenges have you experienced, and if there's any significant challenge for you in particular, and how have you overcome it?
Thank you. I shared in the beginning with the story that in 2017 is when we had our first retreat. And from then I signed a lease, jumped into this brick and mortar space, and was doing in-person retreats. And then COVID-19 happened, right? And I wanted everyone to be safe and as healthy as possible. So I found the challenge presenting itself to move online and actually using Zoom as the platform. In person, we begin with virgin blueberry mojitos. Got that recipe from Spain, right? World traveler. And then we use these incredible grapefruit facial towelettes to wipe away symbolically stress, but then literally, right, stress from the day. And I hand select truffles to share at the retreat for the chocolate mindfulness. I'm providing journals, and I wondered, how would this translate now being in front of a screen, right, with a group of women on Zoom? And yet I knew that a pandemic inevitably is causing stress. So for me to take a step back and wonder and worry without just beta testing it and putting it out there wouldn't help anyone necessarily, right? So we started in March. And from March, April, May, June, July, so 5 months in a row, we've had our retreats online. Women are continuing to say that they're willing to pay the full price, and they're continuing to say the same benefits, and I'm seeing new and different benefits. One piece that came up was the travel time is gone now. So when we're doing this 90-minute women's retreat in person previously, they had to drive there, right? Now it's exactly 90 minutes. You log on, you log off, you know when it's going to start and end. Another piece, more than one woman, but one woman that's coming to mind at the moment, she was in her room doing the retreat, and when I asked what her takeaways were, she said that she didn't realize how much she craved and needed that time to just focus on herself, because she's been going, and she's been doing her business responsibilities. She's an entrepreneur, and she's been doing her parenting responsibilities. She's a mom, and she didn't know until she actually took that moment to pause how deeply she needed that pause. Another woman, I asked the same question, what was your takeaway from our time together? And her response was, this entire pandemic, I haven't felt peace. She said, it's really odd to me. It's this odd feeling that for the last 90 minutes, I've felt at peace. So those stories are circling back to me after each and every retreat. And so the challenge, right, was how to move it from in-person to virtual. And the solution was doing it, right? Just jumping in, doing it, and really listening to your customers and what it is that they want and need. And that gives me additional motivation for this app, because it turns out that the tangible items are nice, right? They smell really good. I have essential oils going, but they're not the core. It's truly about the MYRetreat model of the gratitude journaling and the chocolate mindfulness that are helping women to ground and be in the moment and not worry about the past or the future.
That's great. And you're mentioning how to listen to your clients, your users. Do you have any recommendation for people who are developing apps right now, who are working on developing any type of software, how to focus on their users' wellness and experience with the software?
Yeah, so I love asking, right? I like to just ask directly. I've been told that the farther up you go, up to the founder or executive level, if you're using outsourcing to get that information, it's going to get watered down, or people are going to lie when the information gets all the way to the top to you. So really setting aside that time to get to know your ideal clients, and being the one to ask those questions directly. What is it that you want? What is it that you need? I have an I Fund Women campaign that's going to be launching soon, and I reached out to past customers and just asked for a handful of them to come, and all of them showed up for the campaign video. So we were recording, socially distancing, one person at a time in the space, but that level of rawness in front of a camera and saying what it is that they want to see in an app was phenomenal feedback, and has actually guided the direction that I'm taking the app, because there was one piece that we did throughout the retreats that I really didn't consider being the most powerful, and again ladies were saying that was something that they wanted to have translated into the app. And if your customers say it, then you listen, because they're the ones who are going to be purchasing the app, right? And they're the ones that know their needs best.
Great. Thank you for that advice. And so our last question is, what is your favorite product or service in Rochester?
All right. Well, hands down, there's an artist in town. His name is Yakub Shabazz. He owns Sankofa Studios. He runs workshops on art, and he is a incredible painter. In my home, I have his pieces up on the wall. In this business space, right behind this lovely logo of ours, there are his oil paintings of African masks, and his story is truly powerful. So Sankofa Studios in East Rochester, New York.
Great. Do you have any contact information
Most definitely.
that you want to share?
Yes, I will put it in the chat.
Great. And if any of the attendees has any questions they want to ask to Melissa, this is the time.
Hey, Fernanda, I have a question. Is that all right if I put one out there?
Yeah,
Definitely.
of course.
All right. Was I love your story. And when you were talking about kind of like, you know, your marriage, your, you know, having a child, it's like, when did you like have that moment of like, wait, like what I'm doing or what was working for is like actually, you know, something that could be a business and I could, you know, add value and, you know, turn that into something that might be scalable. What were you thinking there? Like, what was that kind of moment you had where like, wait, this isn't just something I should be doing for myself. I should, you know, be offering it to other people.
Yeah. At that initial retreat, when we finished those 90 minutes, the ladies said that it felt like so much longer than 90 minutes. They said that they wanted to know when the next retreat was going to be, and they told me that I absolutely had to charge. So that's when I got that first taste of, okay, I'm on to something, right? From there, when I was at a Pepper Lane conference, I was on the panel talking about my experience being a full-time employee as a therapist and an entrepreneur, you know, waking up at 5 in the morning and working on my business until it's time to head out the door. And the women who have come up to me from that conference and then on, right, and our various community interactions online, telling me how important it is to have that reminder, because self-care can seem like it's pampering yourself. It can seem like you're just doing something extra that can be put on the back burner. But in reality, it's what keeps us going, and it's what's going to fuel us to be able to be our most innovative and creative selves. So at one point, you're asking, how did I know? Yeah, I would say,
Not
go
to
ahead.
put words in your mouth, but when you said somebody says you have to charge for this next time, that might be a good indicator to me.
For sure, for sure. I know that there have been other parts along the way. I just know too that women especially have a lot of external responsibilities, and when they're coming to the retreat, they are coming back. Not only are they coming back, they're buying gift certificates for their moms, their sisters, their cousins, their best friends, saying, you need this, come and join me. And I would say the tipping point was when women started messaging me saying, I just bought a retreat ticket, I can't come, but give it to somebody who needs it, which has been an awakening as well, right? If somebody's saying, because I can't set aside this time, I want to pay it forward and let somebody else set aside that time. That's another indicator where it's like, okay, you're taking care of yourself when you can, and then you're being selfless and helping another woman do the same.
How did that impact your, you know, day-to-day life? Because going from, you know, having a full-time job to saying it, now I have this other thing that, you know, startup is almost like having a child, right? As far as the commitment and time you have to grow, you know, nurture and feed it. So I'm sure that also wasn't a easy decision for you to say, there's demand for this and people want it, but it's also, do I want to put the energy and, you know, that behind it? So were there any, you know, moments, again, you might want to share, just, you know, maybe they went as exactly you thought, maybe, you know, things didn't, you know, start off the way you thought they were. I think in that realm of when you went from I have something versus I have something, I'm actually going to take it to market, that may have been an aha moment for you.
Yep. So I know that I need to hold myself accountable in order to have longevity. So what I committed to myself was 10 years on the business, and we're into year 3 now. What that's done for me is looking at it as a longer game. I know that if I had said I'm going to take it 1 month or 1 year at a time, that there have been a handful of days where I might have said, this is more of a movement helping women to truly understand the importance of self-care. I could probably just create a tangible item and sell it and make riches off of that. But with that 10-year commitment, it gives me that long-term focus, so that as things come up, like paying for a lease and have nobody to come into your business space, right? Or not feeling like it's safe for people to come into your business space, rather. Where I might have said, I need to get out of my lease immediately. Instead, I said, this is a 10-year process, and I'm going to go with the flow and see where it takes me. And it's taken me to an app, which I had considered, women had asked about, but I really like that in-person contact. So I hadn't put it at the forefront of my creativity. And now it's there. So I definitely see silver linings in the pandemic and how I can reach more women through these practices. Additionally, I do consider MYRetreat my third child. I refer to it as such, right? This is one of my babies. I'm willing to have a community raise it. So I have a good number of mentors that I meet with weekly, bi-weekly, to have that sense of community raising this project, right? This business, and then to having the undying support of my husband. We've been married 9 years. When I told him that I was interested in joining an accelerator on the other side of the West Coast, the other side of the United States, he said, doesn't your friend live close to Silicon Valley? And ask her if she has a guest room, because I will hold down the fort for you. So yeah, those are some things that have helped me along the way and keep me feeling grounded, so that I can be here for the long haul of reaching those goals that I have as they pivot and as they inevitably change. I'm flexible to move with them, because I know that it's moving to support women in the way that they need and want to be supported.
That's awesome.
Thanks, Melissa, for sharing that. So question, how can the community help you?
All right. I would say that if you have a group of women that are getting together on Zoom already, if you know of a local shelter or a local program for women that they physically have to be together anyways, please reach out to me and let me know how I can contact them, because I am truly working in community to reach this goal of 1 million women. And I will support with a chocolate mindfulness video with chocolates to get to that goal of 1 million women. So reach out at MYRetreat on Facebook, Instagram. My email is rockmyretreat@gmail.com, and the website is rockmyretreat.com. So you can find me any of those places. I would also say that any of the podcasts that I've been a part of over the past few years, I always offer a self-care practice in the podcast. So checking out any of those, they're on the website under Hot Off the Press, and I'll be adding 3 more very soon. So checking those out so you can figure out what the best self-care practices are for you. That's what's really going to grow and move MYRetreat forward.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Melissa. I think that was all for today. Please follow her on Instagram, and I send it in the chat, and also Michael share your email. So if you have any questions or if you're interested in MYRetreat, you can reach out to her. Thank you very much, and thank you all for joining today.
Thank you. It's been an honor.
Bye.
Take good care.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.